Hello, I am Xarkun, and this is World of Warships Legends. Today, I've got a domination mode battle for you on the estuary map, featuring the Tier 7 tech tree British battleship Vanguard, which, as of the April 2021 update to World of Warships Legends, has received approximately its 5,334th buff. Yes, that's right, the Vanguard has been buffed again. Now, of course, that's an exaggeration. It hasn't been buffed 5,000 times since the birth of this game, but it has been buffed a lot, significantly. It's very different from what it was when it was first put in the game, even from when I first acquired the ship, and I believe it was my last Tier 7 tech tree battleship that I acquired. Now, the buff for the Vanguard this time is not specific to this ship. Actually, it's a global buff to a number of battleships, and I mentioned them in the video yesterday and talked about that buff. It's the addition of an option to fit the Concealment mod in the third mod slot rather than the Range of Guaranteed Acquisition mod. And I talked a little bit about why that is valuable in the video yesterday on the Yamato. With the Vanguard, it's even more extreme. With a full Concealment build, that is the Concealment mod and Kondo and Swirsky inspirations on Yamato, I was able to get the Concealment down to 12.7 kilometers on that ship. But on the Vanguard, with the Concealment mod and only a Kondo inspiration, no Swirsky to speak of, I've got the Concealment down to 12.5. That is even better, and that is extremely useful to this ship. You can see when I was briefly spotted there, by the way, I took some shots from a ship across the map, possibly somebody trying to stream snipe me because this game did take place on my Friday night stream. In any case, you know, me taking a shot from the other side of the map there, that just, I guess, gives you a tiny illustration, again, of why Concealment is valuable. I mean, imagine there was a battleship out here within my previous Concealment range, which I think was in excess of 14 kilometers or around there. I'm not exactly sure what the number was, but imagine I was still spotted. This Bismarck would still be able to shoot at me, but, you know, he can't right now. So I'm moving in here on this flank in the Vanguard. I'm not sure how much Concealment really comes into play in this battle, at least in a big way. But if you're running the Concealment mod and a Concealment build on a battleship, then it is going to come into play. Another useful thing about the Concealment mod that I neglected to mention in my Yamato video yesterday is, well, if there's a destroyer near you, spotting you, having a lower detectability range helps you narrow down the locations where the destroyer could be. So, you know, imagine you're sailing out on some map and your Concealment range is, I don't know, 14.5 kilometers, say. And you're in a spot on the map where there are no visible ships within that Concealment range of your ship, so no battleships or cruisers that have a line of sight on you, but you're still spotted. Well, what does that mean? It means you're spotted by a destroyer, unless, of course, there are aircraft carriers in the game. If there are aircraft carriers in a game, then the Concealment mod becomes slightly less valuable, just because planes have a much easier time spotting you than surface ships, since the surface ship has to physically be within your detectability range, whereas the planes, you know, they just have to fly within your air detectability range. They're a lot faster, they can move around a lot quicker. Even so, back to my example, say, you know, you're in a spot where there are no visible surface ships with line of sight on you, well then you know you're spotted by a destroyer, and if your Concealment range is 5 kilometers, then you know the destroyer is probably getting dangerously close to you because he's within 12.5 kilometers. And knowing that he's that close can help you at least get an idea of where he might be. And it also tells you, well, now's the time to stop sailing in straight lines and start maneuvering in order to avoid any torpedoes. So, another benefit of the Concealment mod. There, by the way, we take down the Nagato for our first kill of the game. What a sad ship to be in. He's got like 25 millimeters of armor everywhere, and our 15-inch guns overmatch that, so we were able to do a lot of damage. Somebody else who has not a lot of armor, at least on the bow, Nelson. And I know right where to aim, so we're able to hit him for 10k there with just the rear turrets. Dodging some torpedoes now. We've been spotted this entire time because that destroyer is within 12.5 kilometers of our ship. You can see every time our firing penalty goes down, every time you fire your guns, the blue ring around your ship on the minimap expands and turns orange, goes all the way to the white ring. That is your detectability range blooming out to your max firing range every time you fire. That's the firing penalty to Concealment. But when that goes down, the detectability returns to whatever you have it set at, either the base or whatever it is influenced by the Concealment mod and your inspirations, in this case 12.5. And every time that orange circle turns back to blue and shrinks down, you can see it's still orange and we are still spotted because the destroyer is close to us. But if there weren't a destroyer here, then we wouldn't be spotted, and we would have all the advantages. We could completely control this engagement. We could maneuver, we could shoot, we could go dark, we could turn again, reposition, whatever we want to do. The possibilities are open to us. And now, in fact, we do drop spot. That destroyer is not close enough to us anymore. So now, after we shoot at the Bismarck here, we can elect to go dark, we can turn in, we can turn out, we can do whatever we want to do, and that just makes the Vanguard an even more effective ship. I don't think it was ever bad in the first place. There are those out there who still say it sucks, but clearly it doesn't, especially when it's top tier versus tier 6 battleships. The AP is fantastic. They stand no chance. This Nelson out here, he's trying to angle, but, you know, I know a thing or two about the Nelson, so I know where to aim. That time, I aim a little bit too close to the center of his ships, and his 32 millimeters of side armor does bounce most of that salvo. But I've gone dark again. When you go dark between every salvo, too, like this, tends to be that battleships sort of lose interest in you. They don't want to shoot at you anymore because the spotting on you is intermittent. So they might focus their attention on your teammates a little bit more and give you an opening to deal some damage to them, which is kind of what we're doing to this Nelson. He is far away from us, though. He's got friendly ships of ours closer to him, so it makes sense that he might be shooting at them instead. We've actually made a mistake, though. We've pushed in too far. And look at this. We've got a Bismarck and a King George in front of us. So now it's time to play defensively in the Vanguard. And people, you know, I think, again, they don't really like this ship because the firing angles are terrible. You do have to give a lot of broadside to get all 4 of your turrets on target, but provided you're not fighting Yamatos, then this ship is incredibly tanky as long as you keep it angled. There's nothing that the King George and Bismarck can really do to me aside from trying to burn me down, as long as I'm not giving them broadside. And I'm not. I've come to a complete stop, and now I'm going to start reversing. Not an ideal situation to be in when you're using the Vanguard, but something that you can get out of, especially when the enemy team comes to one side of the map, cedes map control across the entire rest of the map and dies to your teammates, and suddenly they're caught in a little bit of a crossfire, which is what's happening here. This Bismarck and King George are both caught in a crossfire between me and at least a cruiser who's spamming high explosive at the Bismarck, potentially a battleship soon enough. We're switching to the high explosive, which is great on the Vanguard, aiming at the Bismarck superstructure, since we can get the most damage there. Ideally, we'll start a fire, be able to burn him down, but it doesn't look like he's got a lot left longer on a lot of time left longer on the surface of the sea. Barely any health left. Switching back to the AP now. Probably can get enough penetrations into his superstructure to take him down. He does keep disabling at least one of our turrets temporarily, which is very irritating. I really hate that. But we are able to take him down and get the high caliber metal to boot with the one gun that he leaves intact. Up to 124,000 damage and 2 kills right now. Ochakov spamming high explosive at us, which is very annoying. Unlikely we're going to be able to hit him effectively at this kind of range and take him out. But one thing we can do is Overmatch the King George's bow armor. This is something you got to know when you're in battleships. You want to look at that armor viewer. You want to figure out what your bow armor is. Figure out that number, multiply by 14.3. That gives you the caliber of guns in millimeters that can overmatch your armor, meaning penetrate it, even if it's angled on, bow tanking. This is not bow tanking for the King George, unfortunately, because his bow armor is just not thick enough to not be overmatched by 15-inch guns. Don't think he knows this. Probably wondering why he got killed there. That's why. You can't bow tank in every battleship against every other battleship. Overmatch is a thing, and I think pretty much every single Tier 6 battleship, without any exceptions, has bow armor that can be overmatched by 15-inch guns. Something you got to keep in mind. Vanguard doesn't. 32mm can't be overmatched by anything but Yamato. And there's the end of the game. I think it was a pretty good one in the Vanguard. I do think this is a pretty good ship, and the Concealment mod is wonderful. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about the Concealment mod. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.